Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Sometimes I hear this song and this is what I think of, and we're going to talk about this today. David Bowie, song is called Changes, and the lyrics go, turn and face the strange, changes. But we're afraid to do that, most of us, in terms of making a change and facing what stands before us. And that's why we don't move forward. Well, she's going to help us with that. Sheri Atcheson joins us again. She is a hypnotherapist, a life coach, also certified in RT, rapid transformation practitioner as well. And we got to make some changes here, Sheri. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. And how about you?
Doing well, doing well. And yes, I'm the first one to say, and I'm going to admit it, I'm afraid of change. Getting better at it. But yeah, without a doubt, it's this. Why is it fear always involved in change?
Well, the thing of it is that our brains are hardwired to stay in the known. So even if the known is something that makes us uncomfortable or sad or whatever, we always want to stay what is familiar to us. But yet, while we're staying in this familiar spot, we always long to be happier and make some type of change, but it's so fearful to go forward into the unknown. And we don't know how to handle that. We don't know if we're going to be comfortable with it, but we'll never get comfortable with change if we don't start making the steps and creating something brand new to become a brand new habit so that we do get comfortable with it.
What are some of the ways that we can make sure that we're more comfortable with change?
Well, you need to make your mind up, first of all, that you really are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and that you've got to do something in order to make a change in your life. So that's really important. The second important thing is to really visualize and step into that feeling of what your life could be like in this ideal situation that you want for yourself. It's really important to get that image, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you get a really good picture in your mind of seeing yourself in a happier environment, in a better relationship, having more money, better health, if you can just visualize that and then step into what that would feel like, it really helps solidify that possibility of change. So that's definitely the way to start out with preparing yourself and your mind to get ready for change. And then I come in.
We need help.
Yeah.
And I'm sure for a lot of us, doing that visualization is probably exciting. Seeing that, let's say you have an empty canvas on your life, anything is possible. So I'm going to visualize, I want that. It's taking the steps to get there. But I guess that is step number one. Seeing it, believing it is truly possible. And it's not going to be as bad as you think it's going to be to get there.
Yeah. And what's really cool about our brains is that if you can imagine a vivid scene of where you want to be, your brain doesn't really know the difference between it actually happening and your imagination. That's how our minds are wired. So that's why it's so important to really step into a visualization and actually see yourself in this new environment, see yourself in a healthier body, a better relationship, or the job of your dreams or the home of your dreams, and see what it feels like, because your brain just will look at that as something actual. And the more you visualize it, that's where a lot of people manifest things into their lives as well. But it's a really good goal that you're putting into your subconscious mind that, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to be like. And then you need to figure out the steps in order to get there. And that's what the next important part is.
Are we going to talk about that?
Yeah, I was leaving you hanging, wasn't I?
Yeah. And I want to just jump back before we even go to the steps with the visualization that you're talking about. It's kind of like the principle of the law of attraction, where you're visualizing it. Let's say you want that new sports car, whatever you want. You're thinking about being in it. You're smelling the interior, the leather, that feeling of opening the sunroof and, driving 55 down the road and just, that exhilarating, I got a new car feeling. it seems like we're really what we're doing, the law of attraction.
Yeah, actually. And then when you step into that visualization and you actually attach the feeling to like sitting right in that new car, smelling it, seeing the colors, feeling it, you know, you're actually solidifying that manifestation. And the really beautiful part about that is that, okay, this is the image that you want. This is your goal that you want. You've stepped into it emotionally and kind of like awakened all your senses within that vision. And then you just kind of shoot it out to the universe, so to speak. You don't dwell on not having it. You just dwell more on, I just see myself in this car. And that's what you just keep throwing out to the universe, is the positive image that you want, and not dwell on the fact that you don't have it. Because in my studies with manifestation, the more you dwell on what you don't have, the more you bring that dwelling of not having back into your life. You're kind of keeping yourself at bay. But the more you look at something in a positive manner and where you want to be, and just really engross yourself into all of that, then the universe will just find a way in its own time. And pretty soon you're going to see little signs where it's like, oh man, I have an opportunity to, wow, I can actually save some extra money here. Or little signs start showing up to where you can literally make this manifestation a reality. So it's so many people are into manifestation and just really practice this every single day. And the one thing that I do, I don't really think of one specific thing, but what I say every day is multiple positive miracles happen in my life every day. And that's the little phrase I say to myself all the time. And then it's, that's the one thing where I have noticed something is manifested in my life. Some, like, wow, who reached out to me? I didn't even expect that, or I have an opportunity here or an opportunity there. And so that's been kind of the coolest thing I've ever done as far as manifestation goes. I like to be surprised.
You see it working, and what do you got to lose? It doesn't cost you anything. It's just reframing. But 2 points you brought up, and I think they're very powerful, in that you can't keep dwelling. You can't keep saying, when is this car going to show up? Why don't I have it now? Because you're putting negative into the universe, and it doesn't work that way. It has to be the positive propulsion of what you want. And probably the most important thing is it's going to happen in its own time. So we're, I call it the Amazon phenomenon, where one button, click, I'm done. It's here. You gotta tap the brakes. It's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. So, all right, the steps, Sheri, the steps that we need to take to make a change, positive change, what would it be?
Yeah, exactly. So that's just it. People expect that one button click and bam, change is done. But the fact of the matter is that once you make up your mind what you need to do, and you visualize where you want to be, and you step into the feeling of it with all your senses. And then what I do with all my clients is I make a workflow with them, as far as like, here's where you're at, here's where you want to be. And then we go through together and we identify, okay, what do you need to do next? What is your next step in order to get you closer to your goal? It's like the bridge of what you have to do to get you from where you are to where you want to be. We build the bridge, and that involves listing all the steps that the client feels they need to take. So if someone wants to lose 20 pounds, the step is, okay, you tell me how you're going to eat healthier. What do you think you need to do in order to eat healthier? What do you need to do in a form of exercise that you actually can commit to? Because you don't want to commit to something grandiose that you're not going to achieve. Because it's really, really important that you commit to something that you can accomplish. And how many times are you going to do it? And so on and so forth. And then what I do with them is I have them prioritize these steps. What is the most important step you need to do to make this change? Number one, and then we prioritize it. And then we assign a timeline to it. So that this way I hold them accountable and I actually have them hold themselves accountable. And then once they achieve the steps, you have to give yourself some gratification and pat yourself on the back and really celebrate your accomplishment. This really helps put change into motion. But even though you do this, you still need to make this a new ritual. It's like an intentional habit. And you have to keep practicing and practicing. And once you practice it enough, then it actually turns into a habit. And then once you have that habit, it actually starts transforming your life to where it's just something you do and you don't even think about it anymore. And you end up being happier, you're transformed. And this is why a lot of times what I do is I make them a recording for them to listen to for like 21 days. And that helps them, consecutively, like a little cheerleader recording I make them. You're doing a great job, and just whatever, I personalize it for the client, whatever I need to tell the client in the recording, just to keep them on track and keep them going throughout the entire thing until that healthy habit is created. And then voila, we get some transformation going on.
So it really is the process of a positive mindset, because from the get-go, and like you said, it eventually becomes part of who you are. You just, you don't even know you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole key to transforming your life too. Just go through the steps, go through the process. And it's really good to have someone there as support so that they can cheer you on and celebrate with you. And it's also really important, I want to say, that you do not beat yourself up if you miss a beat. You just say, okay, you know what? I'm picking up the pieces tomorrow and I'm starting all over again. So that's equally as important.
What about if you want to manifest a relationship in your life and change your situation? It's often been said that you need to get rid of the baggage, the things that are people in your life before you can attract something or someone new. How do you do it? We talked about, making other changes. How do you make a change like that?
Well, the one thing that's really important is really get to know yourself first. And if you're in a relationship that's toxic, for instance, that's really hard to do. It's tough. And there's a lot of isolation that goes on. And you're so focused on isolating yourself from any pain or hurt that you're getting from your partner in a toxic relationship that you don't really have enough breathing space to heal, to get to know yourself, not anything at all. When I divorced my husband, like way back in, I forget what year it was, early 2000s or whatever. And I didn't date. I didn't get into any relationships for 6.5 years. And I was happy, but I had to get to know myself again. I didn't even know what to buy out of the grocery store. I walked into the grocery store and I'm like, I don't even know what I like to eat. What am I getting for myself? Because I was always people pleasing back in the day. So, but you need some time to heal. You don't need 6.5 years. But what I'm saying is that in order for you to find that really good relationship and somebody that truly loves you for who you are, sees you for who you are, gives you breathing space so that you're allowed to be who you are without trying to change you, that's how you're truly, truly happy in a relationship. But you first must become all of that yourself. You must love who you are, see who you are, and give yourself room to breathe and just really take in everything about you. And then be genuinely happy with who you are. And that's when you're going to attract somebody that loves everything about you. You know why? Because you're not going to put up any false boundaries, but you are going to have safe boundaries because you know who you are and you know what you'll accept as good behavior towards you and what is bad behavior towards you. And this will allow you to have that just right person in your life.
You know, it's interesting. You might be in a relationship right now and not so happy, but kind of going through it. And you might not even realize what the other person is doing to you because it's you,
Yeah.
you just kind of became conditioned to it. So until you step, I guess, even mentally 1 foot out, so you can kind of visualize who you can be and who you really want to be, sometimes it's tough when you're in that kind of relationship. And I'm not even talking about a toxic one. I'm just talking about these things happen. Two people grow in a different direction.
No, that's so true. And it's not that they didn't love each other in the beginning and they found things that they really liked about the other person. But sometimes it just seems like when two people are melded together into a relationship, it's like expectations change. And when expectations change, we're expecting the other person to change, even though we might be changing ourselves and we don't even realize it. And it's like, I expect you to continue to make me happy. And I'm nitpicking. Now I don't like when you do this, and I don't like when you do that. And it really irritates me when you do this. And we start tearing the other person apart. And instead of having like a good communication where you can honestly sit down and talk with each other and say, hey, we need to work on, let's just have a heart to heart about like things that kind of bother me. Like if I clean the house and you throw your clothes all over it and you don't even pick it up, it makes me feel that you disrespect everything that I do and how hard I work, and so on and so forth. But we don't even take enough time in relationships, honestly, to do that these days. We just don't. And then you find people isolating themselves from each other, like I was saying. And then we just find ourselves like numb. Like I don't know who I am. I don't know who that person is, and I don't know how to fix this. So it's tough. But if you get the right guidance, there's steps you can do to try to salvage a relationship. Especially if it's not toxic. You just need to know the right things to do and just kind of spruce up your skills to be kind and polite and loving to each other.
And communicate instead of
Yeah.
complaining about what the other person does. Talk about what you need. This is what I need.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
nitpicking. But it's not easy, when you're in a relationship. So yeah, the changes, making them not easy to do. I wouldn't even know where to start. When you said steps, some of
Yeah.
the things that you talked about in terms of manifestation. Your website is paramountmindset.com. Somebody goes there and that's how they can learn more about you and even some of the steps, I would assume.
Well, they can definitely learn more about me and what I do as far as like my coaching for the clients and so on and so forth. And they can also get a hold of me, because I like to call it like, just have coffee with me. It doesn't cost anything at all, but they can sign up and just spend 30 minutes with me and it'll be like our little coffee chat. And we can just visit about whatever's going on in their lives. And whether they're a good fit to work with me or not, doesn't matter. They'll walk away with some kind of advice that will help them on to the next step or whatever they need to do.
I'm going to get personal. Sheri, what's
Yeah.
the most challenging change you ever had to make?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I just made a video about this the other day. I was talking to my brother and, because we had a really not a great upbringing at all. And, like I told you, when I was 10, it was like, God, you got to be my mom and dad from now on. So I really, but anyway, I was really alone with not feeling loved or whatever. But throughout my life, whenever I got into a relationship, I just, it was like this guy and I was attracting guys that actually were a lot like my mom, which she was abusive and a narcissist. But I knew bad love. And when I would meet a good guy, I couldn't handle it. I didn't even give him the time of day, because it was unfamiliar territory, change, right? I didn't know how to make the change. So anyway, but I was talking to my brother and I just said, man, I just have had rotten luck with guys. And he goes, well, I think you smothered them. And I said, no, I don't think so. But, I did find a lot of things that weren't healthy. And so anyway, I hung up from him and I thought, did I smother them? And so I just talked to him the other day and I said, you know what? I think I did, because I smothered them in this way. It was like, I've got this love and I've got this relationship and I don't want anything to happen to them. So that was my way of, not only being the oldest child, but being motherly that way. And I can imagine it was like mothering them or, just being overprotective. So now I'm not like that at all. It's like, now to each his own, live life, but I learned all the tools in how to let all of that go, and it made me feel like I was in prison all the time, constantly worrying about other people. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it just brought me down and kept me depressed. When you learn not to be that way, you're so free, you're so happy, you're going about your own business, you're living your own life, and let the chips fall where they may. Because if someone truly loves you, set them free, they'll be around you, And I don't worry anymore about anything. I just don't. I just enjoy life and trust that people love me and I love them. And that's just how it goes.
So finding
that's my
that.
biggest change.
Thank you for sharing that. I totally appreciate your honesty. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, how we pick somebody that's similar to our parent or parents, but you don't even know you're doing it. What was that moment where you found that you broke free from that, from being like your mom in terms of finding those people in relationships that, you kind of carried on the cycle? Where was the cutoff?
Well, actually, that cutoff was that 6.5 years that I took time for myself to get to know me, because I went from relationship to relationship and I just never had Sheri time. And I really decided what I like, what I don't like, what my healthy boundaries are. So I was really careful about, upholding good, healthy boundaries so that nobody could take down my self-esteem, because I worked so hard to build it up. And that truly is the one factor that has kept me happy. And I don't, I can recognize when somebody is unhealthy and that it's just not a good thing. And that I know how that would be not a good thing in my life at all. So I can't go there. And I have self-respect and, my self-esteem is good and my self-confidence. So I protect that. I protect it. And then you always want to surround yourself with like-minded people. And that's your world that you create.
Yeah. And I don't know if we talked about this, and you might have heard this quote. It's been around for a little while, but you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So
yeah,
who they are, and you're that. Add them all up. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that shouldn't figure into the equation. Might want to make a change there. Again, here we go with the change word. Never easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. And that's something I like to ask my clients. What are the top 3 people that you most admire? And then what do you admire about them? And you'll be amazed how what they admire about those people are the qualities that are deep within the client themselves. And they don't even realize it.
How interesting, because you might think that, you're looking at that person and maybe they're affluent. Maybe you're looking like they got it going on. Look at that. Like everything's perfect. Everything's great. I admire them, not just because of what they have, but the way they carry themselves and their self-esteem, their charisma. But like you just said, it may be inside and we don't know it.
I think it is inside. I truly do. I think you resonate immediately with, I think that's why you admire somebody, because you resonate immediately with this quality that you see in them. And like, for instance, with you, Steve, the one thing that I resonate with you immediately is just how down to earth you are and how easy you are to talk to, because we talk very, very easy, like our time's up before you know it.
It is.
But I really, but I know, and it is, but I really do admire that about you. It comes through to you, it's just, and I'm really down to earth and honest too. But, it's just good qualities that you see, I really think is always inside of you anyway.
Yeah. And I feel the same thing from you. We don't know each other really, really well, but like, I feel like I know you. It's just,
Yeah.
and you're very down to earth and very honest. And you did say something before about looking at the people that you admire and how it resonates with you. It goes back to what we first started talking about. We always gravitate toward the familiar, i.e., why the change is challenging. Gravitate toward the familiar. You pick people as relationships based on your mother or your father because it's familiar.
Yeah.
You don't even know you're doing it sometimes, but you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And that's just perfect. It's just perfect. But it's okay to be brave and step into making a change for sure. It's worth it.
It totally is worth it. It's life-changing. It's not easy. Turn and face the strange. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they do that?
They can definitely get a hold of me. Just go to my website, paramountmindset.com. It's just that easy. And then look through there, click on my contact information, and have coffee with me for 30 minutes. Just sit down and chat with me. I'll be happy to.
Yeah, like a friend. And
yeah, exactly.
And maybe you want to hang with that friend a little bit longer. You'll know after those 30 minutes.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
All right, Sheri. Thanks for everything. Great talk today. Like, very relatable. And it's something that we all wrestle with. Sometimes we don't want to talk about it.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.